A'udhu billahi minash shaitani rajim. Bismillah rahman rahim. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuhu. Inshallah, I hope this will be the last portion that we will cover, and after that I'll become silent insofar as grammar is concerned. Just to recap, we have done the first 14 pages of this, and then we have done 15 through 24 also. Today we are going to cover between 25, I believe, 25 to 33. To recap, what we have done so far are the first 5 items that are shown on this exhibit. They comprise the 5 columns that appear in each of those pages. What we did was we did active past tense, active present tense, command verb. All these 3 are verbs. Then we did active participle, that is the one who does the action which appears in the verbs above. So for example, he taught, he teaches, and then command verb teach with an exclamation mark. Active participle is the doer of the teaching. So in this case, it's the teacher. And the verbal noun, the final column, is the idea of teaching. Some people say to teach, or some people say the idea of teaching, or some people will say just teaching. In case the example that I've given here is writing, the idea of writing, the process of writing, or to write. What we didn't do is the passive past tense, passive present tense, and passive participle. And the word passive tells you that we are now referring to not the doer, but the thing that has been done to. So for example, the teaching has been done to the student. So in this case, the student is the passive participle, or what I would say is, that was just an example, any action that is being done to, that to is the passive participle. In some cases, it may be a thing. In other cases, it may be an individual. In this particular instance, it was an individual. And so we, in English, would call him, the student is the one to whom the teaching is done to. And I had mentioned in the first lecture, perhaps, that the 9 and 10, the forbidding verb and the time and place of action, those 2 are not included in this booklet. So as a total, there are these 10 particular aspects which comprise what is known as surf process. In this case, it's surf saghir, that is, it's a small surf. We are doing a small part of the small surf because you've just only done 5. And as I had told before, that this booklet shows you how to do passive past tense, passive present tense, and passive principle, but it doesn't do it for you. So you have to do it. Now, on all these pieces that we have gone through and we will go through, there is always a template. A template is how it's done, and then you copy everything else on for the remaining rows. And this template appears at the top of the page, and sometimes it appears at the bottom of that page, or wherever that particular subject matter ends, it appears there. And there it will simply show you 3 words, which are number 6, 7, and 8, but it doesn't show all the rows with that one. So that I said, those are the 3 ghost columns, if you will. First 5 columns, then you make these 3 columns if you wish to, and the 9th and 10th column is not made. The Sarf Kabir, however, is much bigger than this, but if you know this much, you can do the Sarf Kabir on your own if you have done grammar. Otherwise, you won't be able to do it. Okay. So let me just, we've gone through this, and we did the Arabic names for this, and then we showed these first 5, and I gave you an example below as to how to do these first columns by going on to page 15, and we showed you what they are. So I'm not going to go through it. And then I explained the families. What are the families? Mujarrad and Mazid Fi. And between 15 and 24 pages, we had the Mujarrad that we went through, and today we are going to go to Mazid Fi. But before I do that, I just wanted to finish the first family, family one, and just tell you that what we have not done in family one is the passive past tense, passive present tense, and passive participle. And just for completeness sake, I'll mention it to you that on, for example, if you go to page 15, which was the first page, if somebody wants to, yeah. But if you're not familiar with it, then you won't get it because I'm not going to. So on page 15, if you see the first row, it says fa'ala, yaf'alu, if'al, fa'il, and fil. This is the template for this page. The subfamily of family one, which was fataha, yaftahu, was the subfamily one of family one. Those people who attended the lecture know what I'm talking about. And if you go at the bottom of that page, the last row says passive voice. This is what I'm referring to when I'm showing you 6, 7, and 8 here. So in passive voice here, it shows from the first column, which is the past tense column, fu'ela, yuf'alu, and then it shows maf'ul. So fu'ela is past tense of fa'ala, yuf'alu is past tense, passive past tense, present past tense was on the top, it was yaf'alu, active past tense was on the top, and passive past tense is at the bottom, which is yuf'alu. And then it shows third word, which is maf'ul, which is the passive participle. On the top row, fa'il is the active participle. At the bottom, maf'ul is the passive participle, the one to whom the action is done to. So, maf'ul is an equivalent. So, for example, if you were to do the thing about teaching, you would say, on fa'ila, you would say muallim, and muallam would be the one to whom teaching is done to. The word majhul in the bottom line simply means passive. So it's passive voice. So the template for this particular subfamily one, which was fataha yaftahu subfamily of family one, is the first row, that is five names over there, words over there, and 3 words at the bottom, which is the passive voice. So that's all I wanted to say for completeness sake about family one. We have finished now the family one, and the subsequent pages, starting from page 25, all belong to Mazid Fihi. Okay. And this, just as I told you earlier, the booklet doesn't have, and we are not going to do it. So again, just to reiterate, you have done 5 columns. You've been shown how to do 6, 7, and 8 column. 9th and 10th have not been discussed in this book. And actually, some people even do 11. So there are 11 columns if you want to do it. And this is simply a saghir, a small surf process. And I told you what surf process is about 2-3 weeks ago. And these, hopefully at some point in time, Anis is going to record these for purposes of YouTube. When they have it, you can go and refer to the notes of the exhibits of those. This one just took that. Okay, 1533. No, we have not gone through this. Okay, so we go back to this one. Yeah. So just reiterating that this family 2 through 10, family 2 through 10 has all mazid fihi. It means that there are additional letters in the third person version of the past tense. The past tense column is column number 1. Pages 25 through 33 pertain to families 2 through 10. Some people call it forms 2 through 10 that comprise mazid fihi group. For example, the first word on each row on page 26, if you look up to page 26, I went through this but 2 weeks ago also as an example. The first word in each row of that page, 26, no, it should be 27. Page 27, yeah, first row, page 27, I beg your pardon. You will see that the first word in the first column of every row is a third person, he, singular, one, masculine, he, past tense, first column always is past tense, but it has 4 letters, not 3 letters. Up until page 14, we had 3 letters. Now we have, to page 24, we have 3 letters. Now we have 4 letters in this particular page. So because it's more than 3 letters, therefore it belongs to the family of Mazid Fi. Each of these words, for example, on this particular page 27, it just so happened that each of those words has a Hamza ahead of 3 letters. So if you go to the top of that page of 27, you will see that the first row has got af'ala, yuf'alu, af'al, all that page on 27. That is the template for this particular family. We'll come back to this particular family. That is the template for the family, first row. And since this particular family is the longest family, it lasts for about 4 pages. So the 4th page, which is page 30, if you were to go to the bottom of that page, that is where you will get the template for passive forms. So the 3 words that are there are past passive tense, present passive tense, and past participle. So these are the template words. And in this particular example, this particular family happens to have more than 3 letters. And in this particular example, it happens to be a Hamza that runs through all of it. Okay. So now let us go to the first family of this Mazid Fi, and it is called family 2, because we have done family 1, which on its own had about 9 subfamilies. Those of you who attended that know what I'm talking about. Those of you who didn't attend don't know what I'm talking about. Fine. So the first page is for, as I said, family 2. And if you go to the page 25, look up the top left. It is what it is called an identifier. So on this one, I say page 2533, show Mazid Fi families 2 through 10. Each of these family has a template. I gave you an example of a template. Page 25 and 26, half of page 26, full page of 25 comprises what is known as family 2. If you go to the page top for definition, that is it's the template that shows, first row showing template on page 25. If you were to go above that, on the left-hand side, it says extra on second letter, extra fatha on second letter of fa'ala. Fa'ala was the family 1, 3-letter word. You know, all those pages before page 25 were 3-letter words. Here now, you see an extra fatha on the second letter. In this case, it's of course ain. So the template starts with fa'ala. People say, well, there are only still 3 letters. No, there are actually 2 ains in that, which is what shadda is about. Fa, ain, lam. 4 letters, so it's a family 2. This particular family 2 is a very, very popular family in the Quran. I think it appears at least 700 or 800 times. When I say it appears 700 or 800 times, the words that you see on this page and half of the following page do not comprise 800. What comprises that 800 is, remember, all these words are singular masculine. It doesn't show you plural. It doesn't show you feminine. So the 800 is this plus the feminine and the plural forms included. Otherwise, this one is simply singular, feminine, masculine, and that's it. The combinations together of these words, when put together, will comprise about 800. How would you know those combinations? You won't unless you do grammar, okay? Because the combinations comprise attached pronouns. Attached pronouns is what make a singular a dual or a plural. Remember, the plural in Quran is not just plural, it is dual and plural. So two is dual, more than two is plural. In English, more than one is plural. So all those combinations you get to learn if you know how to attach the pronouns, which are then called attached pronouns. And if you cannot know attached pronoun until you know pronouns themselves per se. If you do not know pronouns, you cannot go ahead in any grammar, and more particularly so in Arabic. So that's that. Now, so you can see the template on the top row says on this page 25, fa'ala, yufa'ilu, fa'il, mufa'il, and taf'il. Okay. Now you go to the first row after the template, and it shows baddala, yubaddilu, baddil, mubaddil, tabdil. Sounds familiar? It's exactly the same as the template. A particular complication I had added several weeks ago is that the final column, taf'il, which in English is verbal noun, and in Arabic it is, I've forgotten. Anyways, it is the idea of something, okay? So the idea of changing or to change is tabdil. I said that this particular column does not exactly follow the template that you see, which is taf'il. Sometimes it is some other word, for which then you have to go to the dictionary to figure out what is the verbal noun for that particular word. And you will not find that particular word in the dictionary because you do not know Arabic, because dictionary gives you only the 3 root letters. So you have to know how to get 3 root letters from this word, say tabdil. You can only know if you know your Arabic, otherwise grammar, otherwise you won't know it. So you can see why I've been harping on this grammar. I'm not just being silly. It is very, very significant. Now, I'm going to take one example from here, which is somewhere in the middle. Those people who have a booklet, look down about 4 or 5 rows, and you see sabbaha, yusabbihu, sabbih, musabbih, tasbih. Those who have it know what page it is. And the reason I'm pointing this particular out is, as you will know, mostly this word is coming in the Quran when we are talking about something about Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, his glorification. Now, sabbaha, very simple here. You know, you can find the root letter because one of the letters is being repeated. So the root letters you have, they are sin, ba, and ha. If you were to go into a dictionary, sin, be, and ha, you will find that it says that in the Quran it appears 89 times in all combination of sin, be, and ha. You will find that 41 times it appears as a verbal noun. It's called subhana. We are not going to talk about subhana because, as you can see, subhana doesn't appear here. But if Allah Ta'ala wishes, at some point in time, I'll talk a little bit about subhana and also about ta'ala, because most of us say this, but we do not know what exactly is it, precisely what exactly is it, and how grammatically you can get a little bit more sense. Those of you who are interested, I'll give about a 10-minute, 5-minute talk someday about subhana and ta'ala. So subhana appears 41 times in the Quran. Again, almost all the times with reference to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. There you go, I said it. Okay. Sabbaha. Now, sabbaha appears the remaining 48 times, okay? And out of those 44 times, it appears as sabbih, sabbaha. See the first 3 words? Sabbaha, yusabbihu, sabbih. It appears in those 3 forms 42 times. So as soon as you look at this, you know that sabbaha, yusabbih, and sabbih appears 42 times. And musabbih, it says here, musabbih does not appear in the Quran because musabbih appears in the Quran in a combination form. You will find once it appears as musabbihuna, and once it appears as musabbihina. Both of them are plural, both of them are masculine. One is musabbihuna, it's called marfu. You will not know what marfu is because you don't know the grammar. Another time it appears as musabbihina. Again, it is plural for masculine, but it appears as musabbihina. You will not know why because you do not know the grammar. One is the fatha type, one is the kasra type, but the kasra type is not for just jar, it's for either nasab or jar, and you will not know whether it's nasab or jar because it depends upon the context, and nobody will tell you about that because you don't know the grammar. Okay. Now, the reason why I'm talking about sabbaha, particularly as it refers to Quran, is that sabbaha means the limitless glory of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And or sometimes they will say to exalt or to extol, to glorify. Now, for example, first word here is sabbaha. We all know sabbaha lillahi ma fis samawat, Surah 61, first word. Yusabbihu, the second word on this. Yusabbihu lillahi ma fis samawat, the first word of Surah 62. Sabbih, third word, command verb. Sabbih, glorify. Sabbih isma rabbikal a'la, Surah 87, first word. Okay. So you see the first three words, glorifying Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, appear here. These three words comprise 42 words that appear in the Quran with reference to glorification of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. If you are with me up until now, you know now that sabbaha, yusabbihu, sabbih, what do they mean and where do we go? Interestingly enough, this is a good observation you may want to remember. I said sabbaha lillahi, and sabbaha here appears in the first column, which means it's past tense. He was glorified. Second word, yusabbihu lillahi ma fis samawati, for example. Present tense, he is glorified. Why there is a past tense, he was glorified, and then he's glorified. And when we read the translation in both of those, we don't say he was, we just say he is. Glorified is he. Glorified is he, even though it is sabbaha, it is yusabbihu. Because Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, in his time scale, there is no time scale. For him, past tense, present tense, future tense are all the same. So you will find in variety of ways whenever Allah Ta'ala's comment comes in, regardless of whether linguistically it says past tense, we say it in present tense all the time, because intuitively we say there is no time. For us, human beings, there is a time, past tense, present tense, future tense. For Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, there isn't any. Now, I'm just talking a little bit more about this family, but the other families I'll just go in seconds. I want to take now one particular word that doesn't appear here. And I'm going to do that because of a reason. So listen up. So this is the word ha, mim, dal. If you're family 1, it would be hamada. We are not on family 2, which is shut down mim, hamada. So hamada is past tense. Yuhammidu is present tense. Hamid, command, praise. Mufa'il, Muhammad, the one who praises. Taf'il, okay. Tahammid, okay. Now, let's go to the past tense. The past tense appears on page 26 as a template. Fu'ela, okay. Hummido, he praised, he was praised. Yufa'alo, Yuhammado, he was praised. And the passive participle is mufa'il, mufa'al, Muhammad. The name of your prophet is Muhammad, passive participle, the one to whom praise is done to. Passive participle. When Prophet ﷺ was born, he was named Muhammad. Linguistically, it's a passive participle, means the one who was praised. How fantastically amazing it is. He was born, nobody knew how he was going to be praised from here to eternity, and his name is Muhammad. If you know this grammar, you know where the word comes from. If you reflect upon it, remember this particular exhibit says on top, for people who reflect upon the fact that the passive participle is the one to whom praising is done to. Muhammad, the one to whom praising is done to. And morning, noon, and night, from that day on, when he became a prophet, to inshallah infinity, he will be praised. This is how you get this word. This is the power of getting to know the language. This is the power of that. Okay. Okay, so I'm done with this. On page 26, when you go, in the second half of that page appears the family 3. The template of this family 3 is fa'ala, yufa'ilo, fa'il, mufa'il, mufa'alat. Okay. Its template, its characteristics is shown on the top of the page. The second line on very top of the page, it says extra alif in fa'ala. It says extra alif in fa'ala. What it doesn't say is that it should be extra alif on the first letter. So the family 3 takes fa'ala, which is family 1, and it puts an alif on fa, the first letter. And so the past tense becomes, instead of fa'ala, fa'ala, fa'ala. Present tense, yufa'ilo, as the template shows you. Command verb tense, fa'il, do, mufa'il, and mufa'ala. Sometimes you will find in the dictionary that in this particular case, the verbal noun mufa'ala, there is another verbal noun which applies to this, which is fi'al. See then after that you see jahada. This is now a family 3 word because alif is attached to the first letter, which is jim. So it is from that you get jahada, he struggled, yujahido, jahid, command verb, mujahid, the one who does the struggle. That's where you get the mujahid from. And mujahida or jihad, jihadan is not shown here, for which you have to go to the dictionary because it doesn't appear here. So where does mujahid come from? Jihad comes from. You'll have to go to the dictionary, look up this, and it will show you that in family 3, the jim, ha, and dal for verbal noun are 2. One could be mujahid, and the other could be mujahadatan, and other is jihad. You have to learn how to look up the dictionary, and you'll find the jihad. Otherwise, you will not find jihad. How does it come in? You have to use the dictionary. You know how to go about it, and that's how you get it. So this is the third family, which is called extra alif in fa'ala, and it appears on the first letter of the word. Family 2, the fatha appeared on the second letter of the word and becomes a shadda. So it's fa'ala, here it is fa'ala. We now go to the fourth family. Now the fourth family, the template will appear on the top line, but at the title, it says extra on. This is a mistake. If you go to the next 3 pages, remember I told you this particular family 4 is a very long family. If you go to the page 28, this author has the correct title, which says extra hamza before fa'ala. That's family 4. You may want to write down 4 over there, just like in the previous page. You should have written down family 3 for the one in which alif appears after the first letter. And of course, the very first one, which I showed, shadda on the second letter, that is called family 2. He doesn't give you the number. So family 2, family 3, now we are on family 4. On page 28, very top, it says the characteristic of this family is that there is an extra hamza before fa'ala. So its past tense will be like af'ala. Now, go back to page 27 and correct the mistake that is there. It shows extra on fatha second letter. He has just repeated family 2. That is wrong. It's extra hamza before fa'ala. Okay. So now the first row shows the template. Af'ala, yuf'elu, af'al, muf'al, if'al. Okay. And since it has got 4 pages, so on the 4th page, as I told you earlier, if you go to the bottom of page 30, which is the last page for the family 4, you will see the passive verb, how to make it. Remember, I said 6, 7, and 7, 8 column, he doesn't give, he just shows you how to do it. If you wish to do it, that's how you have to do all these. So now let's go back to page 27, which is the first page for family 4. And I'll just go, if you go further down, maybe 4th row from the bottom, you will recognize it says aslama. He surrendered. He surrendered. Yuslim. He surrenders. Aslam. Surrender. Command verb. Muslim. Muslim here is active participle, 4th column. Muslim, he's the doer of the act. The doer of the act is Muslim in this case. So that's where you get your. And then the idea of surrendering, the idea of submitting, to submit, which is a verbal noun, is, as we all know, Islam. So that is where Islam comes from. Okay. Islam is a verbal noun. It is an idea of surrendering or submitting. To submit, to surrender, that's how you get Islam. Okay. And as I said, if you go to page 30, you will get the passive participles of that. I will not go through this one. You will see how many words. This particular family has got about 3,300 combinations in the Quran. Okay. So for example, you will see here, ashraka, yushriku, asbaha, to become. So, when the morning comes, sabha is morning, but asbaha, when the morning is dawning, asbah. So the Arabs would know, that it's the coming of the morning, you say that. Aslaha, we use it a lot of times. This is the last row. Aslaha, yuslihu, aslih, muslih, islahan. See, islahan is the idea of it. Sometimes you will see maslihat. That also is the verbal noun. In this case, he has just given you one. Some of these verbal nouns, that is the 5th column, are more than one. As I told you about in the jihad and mujahadatan and jihad, more than one verbal noun. And sometimes there are 3 of them. It gets a little bit complicated as you go on sometimes. And so that's why last week, or whenever I did the last one, I kind of bemoaned the fact that it's a shame that we don't have the Quranic dictionary in our homes, and equal shame is we don't know how to use the Quranic dictionary, which is why we are in the state we are, which is why I'm driving, me 77, 78-year-old driving up to Austin to join that protest. We shouldn't be protesting in that fashion. We should be protesting after we know our kitab. What are we protesting there for? Okay, so 4, 5, 6, and 7 are family 4. Then we go to family 5. Now, as I said, this booklet doesn't give you the number of the family. So let's go to page 31. This is family 5. The first row will give you the template. And since family 5 is short, so its passive voice template appears right on this page, not at the very bottom, because it ends before the page ends. So it shows you passive voice majhul. Okay, so that's the passive voice. And the first row, very first row, is the template for the first 5 columns. All the way to the top, it says extra ta and in fa'ala. Again, this is an error. If you have the booklet, it is yours. It's write down, put extra ta in, not fa'ala, but in fa'ala. So he says fa'ala, it's in fa'ala. That is, it is not extra ta in family 1 fa'ala, but it is extra ta in family 2. Remember, family 2 is fa'ala. You add ta to it. And so if you now look at the template, it is tafa'ala. Okay, there may have been some mistake. Tafa'ala, that is the template. Okay. That is called family 5. So on top where it says extra ta, and I asked you to make that revision, next to it, write down it's family 5. And then on the same page appears family 6. And the way you identify family 6 is that in fa'ala, you add an extra ta and an alif. So if you were to go down that page where the family 5 ends and there is a line, bold line drawn, the last 3 rows, they pertain to family 6. The first row in that one is the template for family 6. So here is a word, tabaraka. Baraka is family 1, 3 letters. We have been through that. He adds ta before it, so it becomes tabaraka, but then he also adds alif on ba, and it becomes tabaraka. This is how you get tabaraka. This is how you get tabaraka lazi. Okay, that is the tabaraka. He blessed, he exalted, tabaraka lazi biyadahil mulku. Tabaraka yatabarako tabarak. Bless, be exalted. Mutabarik and tabaruk. From where you get tabarruk in Urdu, I guess. So going back to the same page, top, family 5, and the bottom of the page, family 6, 2 templates are given to you. One for family 5, one for family 6. Passive of family 6 is not given here. I'm not going to go into it because I get more involved in the grammar. So forget about it. Suffices to say for me that the word ta'ala, which you repeat many hundreds of times, is in family 6. Ta before fa'ala and alif added to the first letter, and you get ta'ala. That's how you get ta'ala. It's a family 6 word. Going back again to family 5, which is on top. Let's look at the first row after the template row. It starts with tafakkar, tafakkara. He reflected upon it intensely. Tafakkara. Why do I say reflected upon intensely? Because you already have shadda, which is more than fakara. Fakkara. Now you have tafakkara, family 5. It is even more intense. So he reflected intensely. Tafakkara. Yatafakkaru. He reflects upon it intently. Present tense. Tafakkar. For God's sake, please reflect upon this book. Reflect with an exclamation point. Mutafakkir, alhamdulillah, he is the one who reflects very intensely upon. This is the fourth word, which is the active participle. Tafakkur. Okay, Brother Shahzado must be telling you hundreds of times. Tafakkur, tazakkur. That is the idea of reflecting. That is the idea of thinking over. So the verbal noun, the idea of doing all that is tafakkur. So tafakkar, somebody is commanding you. Tafakkur, remember the idea of reflecting deeply. This comes from family 5. If you don't know the idea of what family 5 is, it is extra ta in the beginning, and it is not fakara, it's fakkara, which is family 2. Fakkara itself means think seriously, indeed think, but tafakkara, that's it, truly reflect. I say on top, truly reflect. Tafakkur. Okay, the idea of it. This is where this word comes from. Yatadabbaruna, dabbar, tadabbur comes from family 5. If you don't know family 5, you've lost it all. You're not even going to know, let alone how to reflect. You won't even know where the hell word comes from. Okay, enough of this. Tawakkal. Okay, it appears here on the third one. Tazakkar appears in the second row. Tawakkal. So in the Dua Qunut says tawakkal. That's the verb, command verb, tawakkal. And we are pleading to Allah when we are saying tawakkal in the dua because it's a word of pleading, But Allah Ta'ala has allowed us grammatically, so to say, to command. The child is commanding his father, no, I want this. So you as his abd are pleading and saying, Tafa'al, please, 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 Ya Allah, I put my trust into you, and in dua, you say what you say through that, or Arham, which was family 4. Arham, family 4. Hamza, Alif, after, before, Ra, Ha, and Mim. That was family 4. Here, Tawakkul, family 5. And you will discover these words and you will say, what the heck? I've been saying it, I didn't know where it comes from. This is how it comes, this is how it appears. So that's family 5 and 6 on page 31. We go to page 32 and we will find 2 more families in here. Again, the first row is your template. And at the end of this particular family, which is, there are 2 families shown here. So there is a bold line towards the 2/3 down. And so the passive voice of this particular family is shown there. So the template appears here for this family. Now we go all the way to the top, and this is the identifier for this family. Extra alif and ta in fa'ala is family 8. Extra alif and noon, it's in fa'ala, it's a family 7. He has put it reverse. So family 7 is fa'ala with noon and alif in it. Now look at family 1, family 7. Its template. It says if ta'ala. So here alif is beginning, fa, the first letter becomes sakin, and then comes ta. Okay. You will see in the prior one we had alif and ta, but it was in different places. So if ta'ala, yafta'ilu, ifta'il, mufta'il, ifti'al. Okay. Now go to the next one. Ikhtalafa. Okay, we see this word quite frequently. Ikhtilaf. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala uses this word a lot. Allazihum fihi mukhtalifun. So these are the words of family 7. A lot of very important words appear here. Ihtada, yahtadi, ihtad, muhtad, ihtida. You know, ihdina sirat al-mustaqim. The combination of that particular 3-letter word appears in family 7 quite a bit. Ittakhaza, akhaza, ittakhaza, yattakhizu, ittakhiz, muttakhiz, ittakhaz. A lot of times it appears. This is a family 7 word. Then the last 3 rows in here pertain to family 8. Oh, I'm sorry, I misled you. What I was reading just now is family 8 because he has put it on top, and what is below is family 7. I beg your pardon, my mistake. So family 8 is the one on top. Ifta'ala, yafta'ilu, ifta'il. He has put it family 8 on top and family 7 on bottom. This is why I got mixed up. The bottom is family 7, the top one is family 8. So let me again re-emphasize, family 8 is very important in the Quran. It appears quite a bit, and it appears in contrast to family 1, and I'll talk about it in a minute. I'm running late a bit. So, for example, iqtaraba, okay? Iqtaraba. Alif in the beginning, kaf is the first letter of root letters, and then appears ta, okay? Iqtasabat. Same one, iktasabat. Okay, so family 8 appears a lot. Ittakhaz. So alif, then the first root letter, then ta, and then followed by the last 2 letters. This is family 8. Its majhul, its passive voice is given when this family ends. Then you have family 7, which is last 3 rows on this page. The first row of this family is the template, and he has given only 2 examples of family 7. And here alif appears and then noon appears. Alif and noon appear in the beginning of the 3 root letters. So in fa'ala, yanfa'ilu, in fi'al is the verbal noun, and he gives you 2 examples. Inqalaba, yanqalibu, inqalib, munqalib, inqilab. Inqilab, to return, it also is revolution. But in here, to turn around, to return, qalaba. Now, he doesn't show passive in family 7, because in family 7, there is no passive. And that's another story. It's an interesting story. I'll, in one more lecture pertaining to some special words grammatically, I'll refer to this. This is that active sense of family 7, which is almost a passive sense. Okay, I'm not going to go into it because it's confusing, but this is active sense. What 5 columns are shown here for family 7, they are active sense, but they are like passive tense, which is why there is no passive tense for family 7. Another story, not very difficult, but I don't have room for here by way of time. We go to page 33 now. It's showing family 9 and 10. Extra alif and lam in fa'ala, that's on very top, how you identify that family. Extra alif and lam in fa'ala, and it becomes family 9. So the first row is the template, and it shows if Allah, it should be fatha, if Allah. So lam appears at the end in the template. So the last letter becomes a shadda letter, and there is an alif in the beginning. So if you look at the second row, it says to become black, is waddo. Okay, the root letters are seen, waw and dal. Alif is added, and then the dal gets a shadda on it, that is two dal. So it becomes is wadda. Family 9 appears the least in the Quran. Primarily, it appears to give you the colors. So as you can see, it says to become black, to become white. So iswadda, it is white, it was white, it is white, and so on. And ibyadda, so it's black and white, it's shown here. Very few words in Quran from family 9. I'll just add one thing about family 9, is that when you add yet another letter, it becomes family 11. I'll refer to it if I have time, but otherwise forget about it because we are not discussing family 11. And the reason I mentioned that is there is one word that appears in Surah Rahman. What is it? Mudhammatan? Mudhammatan, right? Mudhammatan. Yeah, that is a family 11 word. And it comes after you add one more letter to family 9, it becomes family 11. I'll talk about it if I have time right now. Otherwise, I'll go because I have to drive to Austin. So anyway, the last one, very important family, family 10. Family 10 is fairly simple. You precede the fa'ala, family 1, by alif, sin, and ta. So you will see its template after 4 rows. Istaf'ala, yastaf'ilu, istaf'il, mustaf'il, istif'al. That is its template. If you see the next row, let's go to the third row of this. Istaghfara. He asked forgiveness. Yastaghfiru. He asks forgiveness. Istaghfir. Istaghfir. Forgive. We call it, first thing I get up in the morning, this word, and I combine it with the lafz al-jalala, Allah, and that's what I say, okay? And I use a command verb, Ya Allah, I plead, please forgive me. Istaghfir, mustaghfir, the one who asks for forgiveness. Istighfar, the idea of forgiveness. That's the verbal noun, istighfar. This is where this word comes from. How many times each of us uses a variation on this word? And you don't know it appears in family 10, and there is a reason why there is family 10, and so on and so forth. I will not go into this because we don't have much time, but if you go to act arrogantly, Istakbar, bara, yastakbiru, istakbir, mustakbiru, and istikbar. That is the arrogance. There is a word that appears at the end before the passive voice template comes on, to be straight, to act straight. Remember kama, mamma man kama makama rabbehi, makama or kama. Here it is. Istaqam. Kama is simply the first family, but here istaqam is family 10. Yastaqim, istaqim, stand straight. Okay. Mustaqim, the one who stands straight. Istiqama, the idea of standing straight. Okay. This is where also the word mustaqim of Surah Fatiha comes in from. Okay. Ihdina sirat al-mustaqim. So istiqama is a verbal noun. There is another verbal noun which is mustaqim, which doesn't appear here, for which you look. But the one who does that is mustaqim. Aqimus salat. Aqimus salat. Okay. It's not here, istaqim, but if you take kama and you do it, the verb, the command verb, aqim. So the person stands up and he says, okay, aqimus salat. Make this salah you're about to do straight, make it wholesome, make it proper. How many times do you hear this? Aqimus salah. And you've never thought about it, but this is where it comes from. These are the things that it comes from. I have done now page 33, okay? Page 34 is self-explanatory, prepositions that come with the verb and may change the meaning, okay? So daraba itself is to go for, to go. Daraba has many meaning, but in this case, he says, but if you have daraba fi, if you add preposition fi to it, and a lot of time the Quran comes in, then it means he went forth to do something, went forth. He didn't just simply go, he went forth. There is some action. If it says daraba li, it becomes he mentioned. If he says daraba ala, he overshadowed. Daraba masalan, gave example. So you see the word is daraba, which appears, and there are many meanings of daraba, but if prepositions, some specific prepositions follow it, and this happens all the time in the Quran, the meaning changes. If you read the Quran enough, this will come in and you'll say, well, I thought daraba was this. Now, how come it says that here? Well, that's because the preposition fi is coming in, or preposition lam is coming in, or preposition Allah is coming in, and so on and so forth. Let me see now, what do I have here? Okay, we did that. Okay, now, so this is where I stop, okay? And I'm not going to go into this right now, but I'll just quickly go through something that I don't. How come it's. 2 weeks ago, when did you do Taha? 2 weeks ago or last week? 2 weeks ago, right? Taha, Surah Taha, okay? In ayat 132 in Surah Taha, it says, Brother Mamdul, remember, وَأْمُرْ أَهْلَكَ بِالصَّلَاةِ وَاسْتَبِرْ عَلَيْهَا وَاسْتَبِرْ. Alif, Swad is the first root. Ta, here is the Ta I talked about. Sometimes they write it as Twa rather than Ta. Istabir, family 8. Ayat 132 of Taha, Wastabir, family 8. Ayat 130, Fasbir ala ma yaquluna, right? Fasbir, okay. Sabr, family 1, 3 letters. Fa is not part of the root letters. Fa is then, okay. Hence, sabr, bear with patience, okay. Hence, bear with patience, family 1. But in the first one, where I said family 8, وَأْمُرْ أَهْلَكَ بِالصَّلَاةِ وَاسْتَبِرْ عَلَيْهَا, and urge your people to pray bis-salate and persevere in it. Persevere in it. Family 8. You see do you hear the difference? Hence, bear with patience. Fasbir. Wastabir, and persevere in your prayers. You don't get this nuance if you don't know the difference between family 1 and family 8. And you throw away this booklet or garbage, I don't understand any of it. Well, you don't understand it because you don't understand the grammar. If you don't understand the grammar, you don't get the nuance of it. How are you going to get the nuance between fasbir and fastabir? He went through it both ways, and some of you got it that yes, it's something to do with patience, but you didn't get this nuance. Okay. In same surah, ayat 122, ثم اجتباه ربه فتاب عليه وهدى. Summa, then, okay, thereafter. Ishtabahu, okay. Well, you don't know the attached pronouns. Who is an attached pronouns? So, Ishtabahu Rabbuhu, his sustainer. You don't know why Rabbuhu comes after, but in English we say thereafter his sustainer. In English we say thereafter his sustainer chose him. In Arabic says Summa Ishtabahu Rabbuhu. So Rabbuhu comes after. In English, Rabbahu comes first. Why does it come? You don't know, because you don't know the grammar. Okay. Each tabah, chose, elected him. Okay. Each tabah, alif, jim, ta. Okay. Ta. That is family 8. Rabbahu, fataba. For then. It does part of the root letters. Taba. Taba is an ajwaf. This is family 1 ajwaf. Why do I say that? Because it's the root letters are ta, ya, and ba. Ya is a vowel. It appears in the middle. It belongs to the family called ajwaf. Those who attended the family 1 mujarrad, they know that fataba has got taba as root letters, and because a is really a variation of ya, which is a vowel, therefore it belongs to the ajwaf subfamily. Alayhi wahada. Wahada, ha, da, ya. Okay. The vowel here appears in the end. The third letter of this three-letter word is a vowel. And if you attended that class, you know that that is a naqis. This is a subfamily of family 1, which is called naqis. Why? Because the last root letter is a vowel. Thereafter, his sustainer chose or elected him for his mercy and grace, and accepted his repentance, and he guided him. Okay. If you'd attended these, you would know what hada is, what fataba is, how did it come about, what ishtabahu, how did it come about, but you would not know ishtabahu because you don't know the attached pronoun who, and you don't know alayhi, you don't know rabbahu, you don't know why rabbahu comes after ishtabahu, but in English, rabbahu comes before ishtabahu. Okay. These are some of the examples of what we all have here. So now, that was sarf saghir, okay? It was first tense, it was first person, it was third person he, it was singular, he is a singular, and it was masculine because he is a masculine, okay? Pages 15 through 30 just discussed were all third person singular masculine item 1 in table below, which is fataha. We started with the page fataha on page 15 in the past tense. Exactly the same treatment is followed for the first person, second person, for plurals, for feminine as enumerated below. The root letters will remain the same, fataha. The rules for families 1 through 10 will remain the same as we went through, 2 through 10 now and 1 before. What will identify each of the following will be what is attached or removed at the end. We start with fataha. He, third person, now it's number 1. He, third person, singular, masculine, fataha. If you were to now do the feminine, if you were to do the you, second person, you, second person, feminine, you, two, second person, dual. Remember, plural in Arabic is 2. Dual and more than 2 is plural. And so on and so forth. These are now all combinations. You won't know these combinations because you don't know Arabic, so you won't be able to do it. If you knew that, it's not very complicated in Arabic. Instead of 1 that we just went through in the booklet, third person singular masculine, you'd be able to do 14 of them. 14 of them. Okay. On Fataha, you did 5 because they were given. The passive template was given. If you had done those, that were 8. If this booklet had given you 2 more, which we didn't discuss, it would have been 10. You could do 10 for Fataha. You can do 10 each for all those 14. Okay. So knowing these pronouns at the bottom, it say, knowing these pronouns and how the past tenses for these are developed, one gets to know 14 words. Not just Fataha, but you get 14 words. If you were to do active past tense, 14 words we just went through. The same process applies to active present tense, 14 words. To passive past, passive present, 28 words. To active and passive participles, 36 words. Command and forbidding words, 12. Verbal nouns, 9. Time and place, which we didn't discuss, dharf. And forbidding we didn't. Altogether, this surf process, now this surf process is surf kabir, the big surf. You would get 122 words. You started with 1 word, Fataha. You can theoretically, and if you were to do grammar, they teach you, and you will find it. I have pages of it galore in here, 122 words. I do not have time to delve into why are these families added. Well, the first answer is very simple. I didn't add it. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has them in the Quran. So these family 2 through 10, in addition to family 1, Allah ta'ala chooses to add these letters in all these families for a reason. And what those reasons are, I cannot tell you. You have to delve deep into it. Suffices to say that my teacher has given me approximately 40 different reasons why there are families 2 through 10. In other words, if Salama is Alama is there, why do we put Allama, 4 letters, or and so on and so forth? Why do we use Qaraba and then go all the way to Iktarib? There are reasons for it, and there are different implications of those words. Not only are there different meanings, there are about 40 there. This Ustad has identified about 40 of them. Okay. So first reason why you have to learn these families, because they happen to be words of the Quran. But if you go into it, they tell you, why is this family 8 and how is it different from family 1? And sometimes they'll tell you. I'll leave only 2 examples, and I won't even go into the examples. Maybe someone who's curious will come to me and ask him. In Surah 2, Baqarah, 186, very famous ayat, and you will see there, let me see now if I can find it. Laha ma kasabat wa alayha maktasabat. Kasaba, family 1. Aktasabat, family 8. I will not talk about it because I will start crying. So I will not talk about it. But there is a whole lot of wisdom in it. And we just read it and we have no idea of the nuance Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has put into it. There is another one. Again, it is family 1 and family 8. And this is in, I think it is Wailul lil Mutaffifin. Alladhina iza iktalu ala an-nasi yastawfun wa iza qaluhum wazanuhum hum yukhsirun. Okay. Iktalu. Alif, Kaf is the first root letter, Ta is the addition, and then Lam and Waw. Okay. Family 8, Iktalu. Wa iza qaluhum. Kaf, Alim, Lam. 2 different families. Okay, family 3 and family 8. Why? Why does this happen? If you know the ayat, you can guess why these things are different. But this is how the Quran is. Now, family 4. Let me see this page. Yes. Family, the same ayat, ayat 2, 186. I'm sorry, Surah 2, Baqarah, 186. Ujibu da'wat da'i iza da'ani falyastajibu li. Okay. Subhanallah. Ujibu, family 4. فَلْيَسْتَجِيبُوا. Family 10. Okay. I respond to those who will call me instantaneously. Ujibu. Family 4. Shows instantaneousness. إِذَا دَعَانِ فَلْيَسْتَجِيبُوا لِي. Let them call me anytime they want to. Let them struggle. Today I won't, tomorrow I will. Family 10. Let them struggle. Let them struggle, but I will, and to come and do this, how shall I go? Implication. Let them take time. But me, Ujib, right away I'll respond. You men, you struggle, you come through, first the jibuli. Now you do, now you don't, you imply, you come and implore, but you don't do it right now. But he, to your response, to your pleading, comes right down. You have to have faith in that, okay? Those are the nuances. I'm finished.